Hi sir, I am Sai Krishna.
Hello.
I am a student. Recently, I have seen a movie in that the protagonist tries to implement a system called voter recall. Voter recall. In that is the if the people are dissatisfied with the way the MLA or MLA is doing things, that they have the right to remove that person from that position. My question is it practically possible to implement that type of system in our election system? If it is not possible, why is it not possible? If it is, how to implement that system? Thank you.
Thank you, Sai Krishna. We are all so angry with our elected representatives. We want to see them all out. So, very commonly, how do you recall them? How do you punish them? Is an issue, is a question that bothers all of us. Unquestionably, elected representatives must be accountable to the people. There's no doubt about it. But recall at certain levels is simply not a practical proposition. Let me tell you why. Governance is about reconciling the short-term benefits people seek, short-term satisfaction that we want, with the long-term public good that we should promote. If every day the legislator or the legislature or the government are on test, then governments will focus only on what makes them popular that day at the cost of tomorrow's good, or future generation will be adversely affected. Just imagine a family. Let's play a mind game. If the children in the family are asked to vote every day or every week, whether or not they want their parents to guide them and control their actions. After all, as children, they have to be controlled by the parents within reasonable limits. They are the guardians. The children are still in a minority in terms of age and capacity to understand issues. Now, if on a short-term basis the decision is made by the children by vote, there will be many families where they will say, I don't want my parents to control me. Because they are saying no to too much of video games, no to spending late night outside, no to driving without license, or no to watching TV all the time, or no to no outdoor activities and only staying at home, etc. So, it's not a very wise thing. In case of parents, because there is this parental bond and love, even if sometimes we fight, the parents and children do fight in every family on this issue. I'm sure there's not a family where this discussion, this debate, this fight does not take place. But if that's the basis on which you decide the power of those in authority, then that can be very dangerous. So be very careful, particularly in the larger tiers of government. I don't call it higher. The larger tiers of government where policy is very complicated. It's not directly delivering results to the people which are tangible. It's about making policies to make something good happen. It's very difficult to reconcile them. So we must give governments a reasonable time, legislators reasonable time. The second is the legislator is not an executive. In our country, MLAs are behaving as uncrowned kings of the constituency. But that's a perversion of the system. Executive function must be either by the government at the state level to some extent, but in a large measure by the local governments in delivering services on a day-to-day basis. Your water supply, your potholes in front of your eyes, your sewerage, your street lighting, all the things must be locally managed. The parks. Unfortunately, we innervated all these governments and MLA is seen as the focal point, the king of the constituency. That's a perversion of the system. And therefore, recalling on that basis is actually further perverting the system, making it even more dysfunctional. The third is, in a complex society like ours, we are not a homogeneous society, castes, regions, religions, etc. If you allow recall, somebody will be elected in the election. Next day, all the other castes, or in case of women candidates being elected in local governments, the males, the dominant males, they will all gang up to unseat them. It will look like nice, but actually it's not nice. It will look like democracy, it's not democracy. So there are those dangers, and I'm not speaking hypothetically. In the local elections in some states, recall was allowed. There are several cases where a woman elected was unseated by recall because all the males ganged up to bring her down from the panchayat or municipality. Umpteen number of times we see this. Therefore, we must be very careful. But in local governments with certain safeguards, I think recall will work better. Because in local governments, there are no grand ideas or policies. There's no serious reconciliation of the short term versus long term. It is straightforward delivery of services that people can understand. They're very tangible. Therefore, we can experiment this idea in local governments with certain safeguards, but not at the state and national level. It appears nice, but it can be potentially very dangerous. It will destabilize everything. Governments will be perpetually in tenterhooks. They will not have the courage to do anything right in the long term. Already, governments are giving up the long-term good of society. Quality education, healthcare, infrastructure, investment, economic growth, jobs, incomes, that they're forgetting. Short-term freebies, individual short-term welfare measures to satisfy them that day and to get the vote. That has become the dominant impulse already in India. If you have recall every day, that will become the only impulse. Indian growth will completely stall. The future of our children will be in serious danger.